From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
There he is.
Yeah, nice, Aslan. I like that. I like that that change, that alteration.
Well, a little bit of an edit. What's up, everybody? It's Aslan and Corey. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com is the website. This is your Thursday podcast. Thanks for being here and watching us live. But if it's Thursday, you should be at the Corner Pocket playing some bingo, having some food. It's always a great time over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Plenty of stuff on the social calendar. Plenty of great food options, cold beverages. Check it all out, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Can't beat the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, everybody. It's where Corey Clark got engaged, for crying out loud. What else do you need? What else can we possibly say to make you realize how awesome it is? We're also live tonight, so we are presented and powered by our good friends over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO, above my head, Corner Pocket above Corey's head. But we're all together, everybody. What's up, Corey? How are you, man?
Good, man. I got in fact, now that I'm here, I got so much of the vitamin energy here in Tallahassee that I'm going to, while we're doing this, I'm going to take a little B12 boost.
What percent is of your B12 daily needs are met in just one shot of that?
Looks like 14,000%.
Okay.
Nice. Okay.
Just making sure. Use the promo code WarChampBOGO, BOGO. Want to tip my cap to two folks fighting the good fight on different platforms. Pensacola Packbuster. Somebody was like, dude, our show was an hour long yesterday. Like, hey, man, you need timestamps. And quite literally, every single show we have ever done has the timestamps in the item description. And Pensacola Packbuster pointed out to the guy. And then a lot of people didn't like the fact that we were talking about Mike Norvell on the show yesterday, Corey, possibly being poached away. But it wasn't us bringing it up. It was Renegade Express. Questions come from you folks.
Right.
And New England Noel on Tribal Council was like, hey, guys, they were just answering a question that somebody asked them. So we appreciate you guys.
It wasn't like we were looking for something to talk about. Somebody asked us. Come on, gang.
Corey's been busy doing stuff for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Hit the thumbs up. Ping this video out to all corners of the globe.
This is the good stuff, man. What do we say? Not acai. Acai?
I think it's just acai.
Acai? The acai pomegranate, man. It's the good stuff.
Okay. So that's 17,000, 10,000. Did you get all 14,000% of your B12?
I think I did. Did it look like I was drinking it? Because I really was. I wanted people. People to know that I really was. Yeah.
I just don't know if you took the whole thing. Shake it and take it.
Oh
everybody.
yeah, man. I already feel it.
Oh, Corey's loose. Corey's loose. But yeah, Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. Corey's done some work. I don't want you to spill the entire beans until you get your story up on the website because, again, we're not giving that milk out for free. But we mentioned this, right, in passing. We really didn't hammer down to the details, but 2 weeks ago, the NCAA approved rule changes for the clock. So there will be a running clock now in college football. No longer will stop when you get a first down other than the last 2 minutes of each half, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Corey?
Yeah, and so what I did was, Aslan's right. That story is done, but it's not on the website yet. Hopefully it'll be up there tonight or tomorrow. But, yeah, I don't want to give away all the things I found. But what I did was I went and watched the full games of Oklahoma and Florida, just two. I got things to do, people. I'm not going to watch every snap of every game. And I tracked the time that Johnny Wilson, let's say, got to midfield for a first down. I started counting the seconds until the game clock started again. So let's say he got to midfield at 13:12 and it stopped. And then I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it would go to 13:11, 13:10. And I did that for every first down for every team. And it's substantial enough, the difference, that it will impact games. You're talking about, I mean, as we all understand, you're losing plays. You're losing plays with the new clock run. I mean, it's not a ton, but it's enough that it changed both complexions of those games. Both those games play out differently with the new rules. Now, obviously, the counter to that is these offenses will make the adjustments and go quicker. if they have to. But yeah, man, that is a pretty substantial change. I also just in the Florida game, just on the Jordan Travis reviews, I went and timed with a clock, with a real stopwatch, how long it took in real time to review those Jordan Travis runs where they thought he got into the end zone, but they weren't sure. And that was over 5 minutes of real time. That all our lives were wasted with those stupid reviews. So hopefully college football will look into changing the reviews. But yeah, man, I think that change, and what's so bizarre about it, Aslan, is like Florida State had a lot of big plays, like in those two games specifically. They had like, I don't know, 10 or 12 plays of over 25 yards. Those plays, man, the clock, sometimes it would be 10 seconds I got to, or 13 seconds before the clock actually started again. That's crazy, right? And then other times it would be 4 seconds. There was just no uniformity to it at all about how quick the clock would start, who started it, why did it start. And so I like the uniformity with it now, but it is going to rob you of some plays. And maybe when you're Florida State and you're going to have one of the best offenses in the country, it's not the best thing in the world that you might be, if you don't speed up and adjust, you might lose a possession a game, which isn't clearly what you want because you're a good team and you want more possessions.
Corey gives us some real empirical data, times, possible possession changes in the story. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a subscriber, hop all over it. Also, shout out to our guy, James B., for saying that who needs timestamps when you just listen to the whole darn show.
Dang right, James B.
Amen, brother.
Dang right.
Amen, brother. Amen. Let's start off with this question here from Casey Owens, and we'll get to some, I guess, quasi-recruiting question. Casey Owens says, good evening, guys. A lot of people assume that we will play Clemson in an ACC championship game. What, though, if we end up playing North Carolina? Would that help or hurt strength of schedule? Beating another Heisman candidate and potential first-round pick in Drake May wouldn't be as bad as I think people may think.
No, but it's just, that's hard to answer right now in May. Speaking of May, I think that if North Carolina's in the ACC championship game, that means they had a better season than Clemson, better season than, well, everybody else but Florida State. So that's, I don't know, man, that's 9 or 10 wins, probably. And that's also, a top 12-ish team, probably, with a potential top 2 pick at quarterback. So I don't think if you beat, but also to get there, I'm assuming you beat Clemson and Death Valley. So that means you'll have beaten Clemson and Death Valley, and then you get a chance to knock off a top 12 or 15 North Carolina team with one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Yeah, that would be it'd essentially be a road game. That would be a strong feather in your cap. It wouldn't be as good as beating a 10-2 Clemson or an 11-1 Clemson, but it's a pretty good alternative, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess it depends. Ultimately, listen, if we beat Clemson, Clemson ends up on a down year being like 9-3. Yeah, you'd rather play the 10-2 team. I think even that one bit of a game discrepancy, Corey, I think it looks better on your resume than beating a down Clemson team for a second time. But, Clemson's like the only real kind of speed trap roadblock that we're thinking of other than LSU. So, I don't know how much that's going to lift your boat, but if you lose to them, that'll be bad. If they're going to be a 9-3 season, you lost to them, and then you're scratching your way back into things. So we'll see how it goes. A good question, though, Casey. Appreciate it. Corey, let me go ahead and some of the kids say out there, I don't know if they keep saying it still, follow the follows is what they say. When you got to go on social media and look at these kids, see what they're doing. You pointed out on the show a few days ago that Michigan State, their quarterback and their leading receiver entered the portal. Receiver's name is Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Last 3 guys that he's followed apparently on social media is the offensive coordinator, your potential Heisman candidate quarterback, and your potential 1,000-yard wide receiver. So thoughts on Florida State getting involved in the mix on Keon Coleman, Corey?
I think they're very strongly in the mix, and I think he's, I think he's visiting this weekend,
yes.
which is, that's a pretty good indication that you're in the mix. And credit to Michael Langston, our main recruiting guy, who I believe had that on the PRB last night or earlier today. I think yesterday,
earlier
actually.
Earlier in the week,
maybe even not yesterday, that he had heard good things that he might be coming for an official visit, or he was coming for an official visit. And here you go. He is. That is look, I'm not trying to denigrate folks, everyone, man. We all appreciate people that played here. This is a pretty big time. If he were to commit to Florida State, that is a big time upgrade over Micah Pittman. I'll just throw that out there. They might have play the same position. Like if he's 6'4", he's probably not a slot guy. I'm guessing he's probably out wide. But you have added a better piece than you lost at wide receiver if you get Keon Coleman. I mean, he's a big time player for them, and his play in the Big Ten. He what do you have 800 yards receiving last year?
Look at those grades, brother. He graded out at a 76.1. Let me pull up his actual receiving.
I like
grades.
how you go there first instead of the how many catches he had and all that. I like it
because the numbers, brother. They're objective. They don't lie to you. 58 receptions, 798 yards, 13.8 yards per catch. So,
and also looks like he played the slot a little bit. So it wouldn't be maybe he is somebody that can go there. But yeah, man, that's he had 4 for 84 against Michigan.
He only had 23 snaps in the slot. So,
well, it's still something. So it says he did it a little. So that is something that could maybe be done. But you would look at that. He had 116 yards in a game. He had 3 100-yard games. Another that was a 91-yard game against Penn State. 8 for 91, 4 for 84, 8 for 107. Okay, man. 1 for 6 against Ohio State. I'd like to see a little better production there, but that might have been this. They couldn't throw. They just couldn't block it up or whatever. But either or he got hurt. Who knows? But those are big time numbers, man. Those are big time numbers at a position that's not quite of need, but is of want. And if you can get a guy like that, that makes your offense better. That's a big time dude.
16 contested targets, 10 contested catches.
Okay, Keon. I see you, KC.
3 interceptions.
He needs to go ahead and pull the trigger. He needs to pull the trigger this weekend and quit fuddy-duddying.
So he's from Opelousas. I butchered that, Louisiana. So not 110% sure the other teams involved in the mix, but that's interesting to hear that that's something that Florida State's going after. That was, again, to your point, a want, not necessarily a need, but that would make you certainly feel that much better about.
Oh man, I was wrong. It was Western Michigan that he had the first game against. Look what he did to real Michigan. He had 5 for 155.
Yeah, Washington. He ate up Washington. He ate up Indiana. Yeah.
Okay. Had a good 8 for 91 against Penn State. All right. So it's a big time guy. Look, those numbers in that conference are better than any numbers of any transfer portal kid you've gotten. I mean, those are real 800 yards receiving. Those are really impressive numbers, man. So that would be a huge get if you can get him.
Yeah, and I guess last week Michael was talking about a receiver out of UTSA, Zachary Franklin. So maybe the board over at Moore Center is a little bit different than what we're working with over at Up Warchant. But again, stay connected with us here, and as well as the PRB. Michael Langston's got you guys covered on all things when it comes to recruiting here. Wes, our guy in the Villages, what's up, fellas? How shocked are you that out of all the transfers we had that hit the portal, none of them were a quarterback?
It's a good question, Wes. I wouldn't say I was shocked.
Tight end before that. I wouldn't have, if you had me list the positions, I wouldn't have had quarterback in the top 4, but I'd had tight end.
I think it's such a unique position group for this particular team because A.J. Duffy's still just a freshman. Brock Glenn is a freshman. Rodemaker is set up poised in his mind to be the starter next year. So they all have good reasons to stay. Now, if Duffy gets beat out by Glenn, or if Duffy takes a huge step and beats out Rodemaker, then I think that's when, look, next spring, people are leaving. But this spring, it kind of makes sense that they would all stay because I think they all – and it's mainly Duffy and Rodemaker, right? Like there's be no reason for a true freshman that should still be in high school to leave and Brock Glenn. So it would be Duffy or Rodemaker. And I think, Duffy being a redshirt freshman, and there's going to be an open competition next year for the job, and Rodemaker now starting his 4th year with an open competition for the job, it'd be weird to leave right now, maybe, I guess. You right? Like, yes. I guess I would have been surprised more if one had left. Just because of the unique circumstances of the job coming open next year, and all of them probably in their minds thinking they have at least an alley or a path to get it.
There's no way Tate would have transferred out. he's the number 2 quarterback. I don't
No,
know.
if Duffy had beaten him out in this, if Duffy had been much better than him, if it became obvious Duffy was the number 2, then that's when he would leave, right? But that did not happen. That did not take place. Tate is the number 2 quarterback.
Shout out to our guy James B, saying that LSU is in the mix for the Keon Coleman kid. He is a Louisiana native, so thanks for doing that. And then coming off the top rope with 200, Corey. Let's go. What?
That's our dog.
By the way, if you joined us last time we did this, I try to thank everybody at the end of the show that went ahead and threw money in the tip jar. And I'd noticed that for some reason, James B hit us up twice, gave us 2 bags of 200 American. Saw him before the spring game, and it was like, yeah, man, it wasn't just twice. It went more than that. So he's like, if I don't show up for a few weeks, don't hate me. I'm like, no, dude, I think you're good until we kick off in Orlando, brother.
You're good until Ireland.
Yeah, but here he is doing what he does. James B's the man. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, James, man. We really do appreciate that. I'll see him. I think I'll see him at a wedding in July. I believe will be the next time I get to see old James B.
All right. James B says a couple different outlets are saying that Florida State's got the best quarterback room in the ACC.
I mean, they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country, so that always helps.
Would be ahead
and
of
you do
us.
have you have viable guys, right? You have viable backups that could be players. You just we don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. What else we got here? Pumping up. Post your questions here. Taking them live on YouTube. Again, your Thursday show. And then see, Chance, pace yourself, guys. It's a long show. What? I got to amp up Mike Breen a little bit. Z-Chan, dude, my guy. 299.99 says I'll jump on board as well. Here's the ESPN recognizing our potential and ranking us number 3 post-spring. Let's go. Now, what do you think about that, Corey? I guess ESPN's done a little bit of a poll post-spring, assessing everything that's going on, and they've got the Noles number 3.
I wrote a story about it. They have the power rankings. They came out, and Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2, and Florida State is 3, ahead of USC, who is 4, Ohio State, that's 5, and Alabama, that's 6. I mean, look, we'll see how it plays out, gang. But can we take them? And Z-Chan, you're the best. We always take a minute to appreciate you. My favorite dentist that I've never gone to. But, buddy, if I lived in Thomasville, I'd be there every day, literally every day. But when you look at just look at the company you're keeping now, man. Just look at the company you're keeping now. It's Georgia, Michigan. So Georgia's the back-to-back national champions. Michigan has been in the playoffs each of the last 2 years and went whatever they were. What are they, 13-1 last year? And then Florida State. Florida State is right there between Michigan and USC and Alabama and Ohio State, and it's not nuts. No. Now, look, do those teams probably have more elite talent than Florida State, all told, because of what they've done in high school recruiting? Sure, but for this year, in the experience that you have with these guys, and I'm talking about Jaheim Bell, Jeremiah Byers, guys, Darrell Jackson, guys that have played football and now are on your team. You can compete and you belong in the conversation for this 1 year. We hope it lasts for the next decade, but for this 1 year with that quarterback, with those guys that came back, you are in the conversation. You are in the neighborhood. You have stormed the gates, and you are in the neighborhood with all these other programs.
Forget those gated communities, man. We're pillaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
With our pillars, we're pillaging them. That's incredible. And to your point, like, it's not nuts. It's not crazy they're pointing out here, Schleybaugh wrote this up, pointing out Jaheim Bell, talking about Braden Fisk, Peyton, and Verse coming off the edges. So you feel good enough about what you have defensively and obviously offensively, what they had last year, and then adding Jaheim Bell and Kyle Morlock on top of that. That's scary. And you think about them adding the kid possibly from Michigan State.
Or a safety. I mean, look, you didn't lose anybody of huge import in the portal. They all came this way. Now, you lost some guys that would have played for you that stung a little, but not to the point. I mean, again, going back to Pittman, you don't know when he was even going to be available to play. You didn't get Josh Farmer coming back is a big deal. So you didn't get crushed in the portal. The outgoing portalites didn't kill you, and the incoming ones all should play a lot.
So I think, I don't know, man, when there's an expansion draft, at least like in the NHL, I think you can protect like, I don't know, man, maybe 10 players on your team. That might be too many, might be not enough. But to your point, man, like if you had to tag guys, like franchise tag guys, so they would not be able to go into an expansion draft, or in this case, a transfer portal, none of your top 15, top 20, is there anybody that left that would have been on your preseason top 40? So you're going to lose people.
McClendon probably.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly, I think that's it. Travis J, just because it was an annual tradition.
Right.
But we always had him on the top 40. But no, that's a good way to put it. Like Micah Pittman again. We're not dismissing what he meant to last year's team or what he meant to the overall program. It's just that I don't know how healthy he was going to be. And if he can't play in September against LSU and Clemson, then I mean, all right, well, those are the two biggest games of the year. And we don't know if he was going to be healthy for those games. So, no, man, I would say McClendon would have been in the top 40. Everybody else in your two deep that you wanted to stay, that you needed to stay, stayed.
Yeah. Oh,
McLean, maybe?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess if we would have seen him
McLean and
play
McCall?
in spring. Yeah, all right.
All the backs.
7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie. Or you can protect 8 skaters and 1 goaltender. So, yeah, basically like 10 players.
Yeah.
So those guys have been in the top 40, most likely, but nobody would have been in the top 10. None of those.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Nick Reed's in the house. Wake up, he says. First time posting, but always listening to the pod and from work. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that, man. Let's play a hypothetical. Give us your offensive stat line for the LSU game. You go first, Corey.
Oh, we just yardage? I'm going to say 451 yards, 31 points.
Let me pull up. Let me see the box. Let me pull up the. I'm going to cheat, Corey. I'm going to pull up the box from last year so I can go ahead and get maybe a better feel for how I think the game will play out. I mean, they ran for 260 and they ran for 132 and he threw for 260.
So 400 yards right there, right?
Yeah, but like they got to throw. I mean, he's going to go for 309 in the air and they'll run for 152.
Oh, so you're right there. That's 461 yards of total offense.
Okay. All right. Points scored. Would you go over 33.5 points for Florida State scored right now, Corey?
Oh, I just said 31, so I can't go back on my word. I'll say no, under.
All right. Yeah, they had a tune-up last year, and then they yeah.
It's a tough team to start with, you know. That's a tough team. They're going to have guys.
I'll go with over Corey's though. I'll say they'll score 34. It's feeling crazy. These pillars, they got me feeling crazy. Hey, Bakari's he's a subscriber too, but look at him, man.
Dollar bills, y'all.
BK, aka Kari, dropping $20 in the jar. Thank you, Bakari. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thanks for the great content, he says. Thank you, Bakari. You're part of it. You ask questions on the Radio Express. My question is a little off topic, but who's the best high school quarterback that was recruited by Florida State, came here and shined at another position?
So, Bakari, if you could clarify, I don't know if you meant they were recruited as a quarterback or they played quarterback and then came to Florida State, because Peter Warwick played quarterback in high school, and he's the answer. Dexter Jackson played quarterback in high school, and then he won a Super Bowl MVP at safety. Those are the two that come immediately to mind. And there are others, but I don't know if you meant like, I guess if we're talking about guys that were recruited as a quarterback and then moved somewhere else, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of one that's happened recently. I'm sure there's people screaming
Travis J.
I mean, yeah, Travis J. Oh, sweet Prince. Can you think of somebody that was recruited as a quarterback and
No.
Anquan? You know what? Anquan. Because Anquan was kind of like he battled Ricks for quarterback. Like he literally in that, whatever that was, the 02 season or 01 season, and he tore his knee up. He was in a QB competition with Chris Ricks for the starting quarterback. And then they moved him back to wide receiver because he came in and they had him play wide receiver the first 2 years, telling him the whole time, you can play quarterback once Chris Winky's gone. And then Chris Winky left and he battled for the job against Chris Ricks. I guess lost it became a wide receiver, and then immediately tore his knee up and was lost for the year. So Anquan's right. Anquan and Peter Warwick are my two answers.
Anquan, to the rule of the law on this question, the spirit of the question, though, probably P-Dub.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Anquan was literally, I mean, he was a high school quarterback recruited to play quarterback. They had some wiggle there with him, but quarterback was a legit possibility. Peter was like, no, man, we're gonna make you a star. You're gonna make us a star. Wes wants me to see if I can find the video of Norvell hitting a 400-yard drive.
That was on Twitter. That was on Twitter yesterday. I couldn't tell that he really hit it 400, but they said it went 400 yards and landed on or rolled up on the green. I saw footage of it, but then I was like, really? Because they finished last. He and his partner, I think it was Bobby Johnson, the old Vanderbilt coach. They finished last in the tournament, but he hit a 400-yard drive. I'll see him tomorrow or today if you're listening to this on the podcast. I'm going to ask him about it. Like, did it really go 400 yards? Did he really hit a 400-yard drive? Because that's not fair.
I see the tweet. They follow me, so hopefully we're friends. We'll show their name, I guess, so they do not get upset that we're stealing content from them. Give them a follow if you'd wish on the Twitter machine. FSU plays.
Just when you look at the swing, and I'm not a great golfer by any stretch, does it look like a swing that would hit a ball 400 yards?
But it could be downhill and you get a good bounce off something. I mean, it's photoshopped, man. It's photoshopped.
All right. Okay. Aslan would know. Aslan would know more than I would.
Right there. Like there, it says DP World Tour in the top right corner, man. It's editing his shot and then putting another one on the back end of it. You can see the jump cut there too.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
We dashed some dreams there.
Mythbusters, everybody. We do a little myth-busting on this show.
Hey, man, we're doing the Lord's work.
What else do we got here? Terry Carter's in the house. 400-yard drives competition level. Yeah, it absolutely is.
400-yard drive is nuts, even downhill. And then to land like that and only be 5 feet away. Now, look, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him tomorrow. I'm going to bring it up just to make sure that he didn't hit it 400 yards.
Terry gets a soundtrack, by the way. Shout out, Terry. Thanks, man. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Terry.
We just listened to Bakari in the comment section. We would have known it was edited. Thank you, Bakari. Take a lap, Wes, making us pull up fake footage. Just kidding, man. Love you, big dog.
Yeah, that was FSU football retweeted it.
Really?
That's not where you just got it from. It was
some other.
Okay. I thought they retweeted it yesterday.
Having fun with everybody here. Garrett, if Atkins were to leave after this national championship season, is Tony Tokar's inside lane to be the OC, or will they look outside of the building?
And I want people to realize we are not bringing up Alex Atkins leaving on our own. Our man Garrett has asked us this question. I would think Tokar's would certainly be in consideration and in the conversation. It seems like a natural fit for a QB coach to then take that jump, but I don't know that for sure. He's still a pretty young guy, and Florida State would be a very hot commodity for up-and-coming coaches. Our coaches, OCs at smaller schools that have proven themselves to be OCs at smaller schools, you could make a run at and go get somebody good. You'd also have to go get an O-line coach. Now, maybe you hire from within there, too.
Bakari agrees with your answer, by the way, though, Van Quan. So he thinks Anquan was in. So he knew his answer. He just was testing us to make sure that we were on the right.
I mean, he's a borderline NFL Hall of Famer at the other position he didn't play. So it would have been cool to see him at quarterback, though. It would have been neat. I wonder in this day and age, in this era, how he would have shined. Because he's not a 4.4 guy, but he was a ridiculous athlete and a strong, tough kid. That I feel like on 3rd and 3 on a QB sweep was going to get you a first down literally every time. So that would have been cool to see him play quarterback.
Yep. I hesitant to put this up on the screen, but Don's always hyping up the programs. You've taken a shot of vitamin energy, Corey, so I feel like you're lathered up. You probably got some juice in you here.
Oh, yeah.
Don wonders, do we think that Deion possibly gets some sort of bizarre pleasure by poaching away players from Florida State?
I thought I thought he got, and I might be completely speaking out of turn. I thought maybe there was a pleasure in Travis Hunter. I thought, but I don't know that it was like Florida State specific though. Although I know Florida State fans were like, really, you couldn't have gone after Miami's best recruit or Florida's best recruit. You had to come after ours. I get that. I get that animosity from an alum, but I think it was. I don't think it was like a perverse pleasure in getting a Florida State guy as much as getting the number one player in the country. And then here again with the Colorado stuff now, um, he's he's not poaching Johnny and Jordan and Trey Benson. He's not just like it's just guys that are coming in the portal. I think David Kelly is on his staff there now, so he probably has some history with these guys. He might have helped recruit some of these guys. I'd assume he had a relationship with Derek McClendon, and I assume he probably had a relationship with Brendan Gant from his time in Tallahassee. So that might have more to do with it than Deion just saying, who's coming out of Florida State? Let me go get somebody from Florida State. The Hunter thing is a little different, though. I don't know. I don't think if Travis Hunter was going to South Carolina that Deion would have said, never mind. I just want my guys. I want Florida State commits. I just think it might have happened to work out that way. What do you think, Aslan? All right.
You know, people don't want to hear what I'm going to have to say probably, so I shouldn't say it.
Oh, all right. Well, that's a good warning.
I'm sure there's a little bit of it, the fact that he wanted this job. He interviewed for this job. He didn't get this job. Then I'm taking away the number one recruit. Like the number one recruit in the country believes in my vision more than he does the guy that you hired. But, man, I don't know how much of that's the competition that Kirby Smart has with, Jimbo Fisher or Jimbo Fisher had with Will Muschamp. Just the way these guys are wired. There's always going to be some kind of competitiveness of like, I want to take this guy. I want the best players I possibly can. I don't know how much of it was let me focus on what Florida State's best guys and steal it from him. Because like you said, man, it wasn't like Travis. It wasn't Travis Hunter because he went to Florida State. It was Travis Hunter because he was the best player available. So
it might have been like an added benefit that, I get to screw the team that didn't hire me. I get to screw the program that didn't hire me. But I don't know that he was going flat out, let me go see who's number one on their list and go get them.
Keep it on the defense, DGG2. Do you guys think if the defense doesn't improve in all areas that Mike would look for a new defensive coordinator?
No, because it improved so much in the last 2 years, it's almost unrecognizable. And keep in mind, I just watched, for this story that I wrote, the entire game of Florida and Oklahoma. So it wasn't Florida State's best showing in those two games, clearly. But still, Adam Fuller, when you look at the totality of what that defense was that he took over, what it was in 2020 and 2021, and then the leaps that it made in 2022. I know we just have a bad taste in our mouth, not from the Vitamin Energy gang. That stuff is sweet. But from those last two games where you give up a ton of points and a ton of yards. But I don't think they have to make substantial improvements. I just think that if they remain the same, I think Adam Fuller is going to be fine. If they stay stagnant, I think they're fine. If they take a dip with the amount of talent he has on this team, if they take a dip, then yeah, there would certainly, I think, be a conversation because he's got a lot of good players at his disposal right now.
Okay, this feels like I just walked you into the lion's den and, left you out to dry, Corey.
I like that jersey, by the way. I don't know if you've spoken about it yet, but that's a sharp hockey jersey. I can't wait to get mine.
Best part of it. Look at that, man. 7-7, man. It's my number, man.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why?
Yeah. Paul
Big Chelios fan?
Chelly was 7. Paul Coffey was my dude. Paul Coffey, a little bit of Ray Bork. Mainly Paul Coffey because he's a Penguin.
Okay.
Anyway, so people have been asking us about this forever, about the defense improving, and Gene Williams, aka .com, aka the Godfather, the real Godfather, was like, hey man, and he sent me this email like 3 months ago. He's like, I keep hearing you and Corey talk about how much this defense improved year over year from 21 to 22, but that's really not the case. He's like, just in case you know, so you could stop, perpetuating this.
Well,
myth.
Because I would say by every metric, but the only metrics that I was really using were total defense and scoring defense. not yards per carry, because they did not do well in yards. They did not do well in rushing defense compared to the year before.
Yeah. So because Gene does listen to this, everybody, believe it or not because he has to, not because it's his intellectual property, but he likes to show.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, why would everybody does? It's a great show.
So the chart on the screen, which our podcast listeners cannot see here, the first down defense, which I don't even know what is that? What's the 247 to 240 in terms of the amount of first downs they allowed?
I guess.
So
probably that seems to make sense. Yeah.
They backslid 10 on that. Their red zone.
They gave up one extra first down. I'm going to say they stayed the same there. They gave up one extra first down.
Red zone defense, they went from 7th to 60th.
Yeah.
And then rushing defense, as Corey had pointed out, they were 55th in 21, 75th this most recent season.
But look at when you to close it out, the total defense, they went from 66th in the country in 2021 to 15th. Yes. And in scoring defense, they went from 68th to 20th. A pass defense from 74th to 4th. So they made huge strides. And more than anything, it's those top two that matter the most. And I would also say when it comes to the rushing defense, well, it probably didn't help that Robert Cooper was barely able to play and Fabian Lovett did not play. Of course your rush defense wasn't as good. Now that's not an excuse because Fabian Lovett is back for his 6th year. And you've got Braden Fisk and Darrell Jackson and Josh Farmer along there to go along with Jared Verse. So I would think if you stay in the top 20 in scoring and total defense with the offense that you have, you should win. You should be in every game and you should win almost all of them. And again, look, when you look at last season, I don't know what games you think they lost because of the defense. I mean, maybe Clemson with that weird stretch. Probably Clemson. Clemson would be the one because Clemson did not have a good offense. But the NC State game, you lost because of your offense. And the Wake Forest game, frankly, you lost because of your offense. But then I guess you could flip and say the offense won Florida and Oklahoma, which is true because the defense wasn't good in either one of them. So I think if they stay the same, man, and I don't think they will. I think they'll be better. But if they just repeat those numbers, except get better in the rushing defense, I think that's a playoff caliber resume if you have a great offense, which they should have.
I don't know if this is counterintuitive. I think maybe the conventional wisdom is when you're blowing out teams, they're going to be throwing the ball, trying to catch up. But they were throttling teams so badly last year that a lot of them just waved the white flag and kept running the ball. So I wonder how much.
I think some of that, though, is because look who they were beating. Like Georgia Tech, they couldn't throw the ball. They didn't have a quarterback. Syracuse didn't have a quarterback. Miami didn't have a quarterback. So I think those were unique circumstances.
I know, but I'm saying that could be why your rushing defense apparently wasn't as good as years prior. Right.
Maybe. Yeah, could be.
And the bottom line, man, if you say overall, listen, man, you're going to move up 41 spots in total yards allowed, but you're going to backslide 20 spots on rushing yards allowed. I think we all take that trade-off.
Yeah. No. 21 points per game. If you give up 20.6 points per game again, you are going to be a top 5 team. As long as your offense stays healthy, because your offense is awesome.
Our guy, Derek, XDQ004 on the warchant.com tribal council, drops $20 in the jar. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Derek.
Destin Hill will come in and make an instant impact. I expect him to get significant snaps at the slot before the end of the year.
Okay, Derek. Okay. All right. Especially because, we are going to be we might camp out on campus. We were talking about this on headlines and want to see him walk into a classroom. Want to just see him in a classroom, just because we won't get to see him on a football field for another couple months. But if he's here, it's May. These guys, I think Ira was saying these guys are all supposed to be arriving next week. The newcomers, it would be. And what if he is really good, Aslan? I don't expect anything from Destin Hill. Number one, I'm still not certain he exists and he will be on campus. But if he shows up, I still don't expect anything from him his first year. But it's also, he's got to be 21 years old, 20 or 21 years old. So he's not a normal freshman. So maybe he is physically ready, as long as he can catch up to game speed and what college and adapt to college and college football, maybe he can be a guy that makes an impact. He certainly seemed to be talented enough from the way everybody talked about him.
The 13th, I think, is the day he's supposed to arrive. So I know it's May, and everyone's like, where is he? The 13th, I think, is the date that Michael Langston was given. So I'll either be at the airport. I still don't know if I should be at the airport, if I should be at the Welcome to Florida sign when you cross the border from Alabama.
Right. Well, wouldn't he be on I-10? He'd probably be on I-10. Wouldn't he be coming from Louisiana? So he's driving on I-10.
Yeah.
We just obviously need his license plate or some way to track him. We could, we could go on the overpasses and welcome home, Destin.
Yeah.
And hang down signs like people did when OJ was driving through California. Not that I'm comparing Destin to OJ by any stretch. That was the only thing that I thought of when people hung out banners over the overpass.
I was going to say maybe I hang out at Buc-ee's. Probably refuel at Buc-ee's, kind of the halfway point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so everybody's going to try to go there.
So I'll come try to hang out and see what happens here. Octavio says, 2 years ago, if you'd have told me that Corey Clark, there's an E in Corey, by the way, Octavio, respect. Show some respect.
Cool. It's cool, Octavio. Don't worry about it. People do that all the time.
If you had told me that Corey would be saying that we should win all of our games, I'd call you crazy.
Things have changed, Octavio, but when you look at it, I mean, they're going to be – it's a pick-em essentially against LSU. It'll probably be a pick-em against Clemson. And I think you have the better quarterback in both those games and maybe the better defense in both those games. And one of them's kind of a home game, a pseudo-home game, at least in Orlando. So, yeah, why not? Why not? But, yeah, compare where they were 2 years ago to now is it's fun to have this job now. And get to talk to you fine folks.
Don's back. Y'all good with our kicking unit so far, or do we need to go fishing?
Well, I don't know that you can go. No, I'm not good with it. Yeah. But I don't know what options there are at this late stage. They're not scrubs. They're not terrible, right? I mean, they're capable, right, Aslan? I mean, they're not like they don't have any kickers. These aren't walk-ons. They have and Fitzgerald's made some big kicks. You know what I forgot about with him was, he shanked the bejesus out of one in the Florida game in the second half when it was I think it was 21-14 the second quarter maybe, and he shanked the bejesus out of one, and then Florida had a 24-21 lead early in the third quarter, and he drills a 47-yarder. I completely forgot about that right down the middle. It was a really big kick. It's one of the bigger kicks of his career, and then he kicked the game winner against Oklahoma. So he had a nice finish to the season. He's made some kicks, but they're not elite. Either one of them are elite, and you just hope you don't need them to be.
I hope none of us ever get judged in life by just like one singular moment. But man, what he did in Raleigh by kicking a very long field goal that was of consequence. Yeah. Now, granted, it was at the end of the second quarter. But man, if they would have played for a field, and I'm in the minority on this one. I was in the minority on playing prevent defense, or not playing prevent defense, rather, against Jacksonville State. We saw how that one worked out.
Yeah.
But man, if they would have given him a shot to kick against NC State, either he makes it, and like what a cathartic moment.
Sure.
And you win that game, or he misses it, and then that's kind of like, that's it, man. That is a wrap. He's probably no longer here. He's probably in the portal trying to start over somewhere else. They decide to manage it a different kind of way. I wonder if you ever gave like truth serum to Mike Norvell, if he was like, man, if you could go back and play that last possession again, would you have been like, let me try to sell for a 35-yard field goal? Or what is like, or maybe asking Jordan, like, what if you've gone for it all on that one pass?
Yeah.
You could have done it over again. But
I think maybe you throw it to 14 instead of 4. That would have been my thought process. But yeah, in hindsight, absolutely. It would have been, if you lost the game either way, what difference does it make? But yes, if he makes that kick, if he makes a game winner, maybe it just resurrects his career. But then again, he did hit a game winner. It wasn't they were tied, and it was, it wasn't a 45-yarder, but it was a pressure kick, and he made it against Oklahoma. He made the pressure kick against Florida. So he should have some confidence once he went back to the 3-step thing that he was doing. But that's, he's not Aguyao, and he's not Hopkins, and he's not Gano. He's a guy, and maybe the other kid wins the job anyway, but you know going into the season, you don't have an elite kicker. So anything outside of 45 yards, you're probably going to be going for it a lot.
Y'all should go for it. Go for all of it over at mybookie.ag and use the promo code WARCHANT when you folks show up. You'll get an instant cash deposit bonus right to your account. As we all know, this is the first Saturday in May coming up this weekend, which means Louisville, Kentucky turns into the sports mecca, if you will, the Kentucky Derby. Trying to see if there's any names here that have like Florida State kind of undertones to it. I haven't found any of them yet, though. Maybe confidence game. I mean, just our confidence is we're just brimming with it right now.
Yeah, right.
Plus 2,000. So I think that means 200 to 1, I think.
Yeah.
So if you put $1 on it, you'll win 200 if he wins. Check it out. Maybe you've got a hunch, everybody. Let us know what your hunch is. Corey, are there any names that jump off the screen to you that have Clark family ties, maybe?
No. I like Rocket Can. That's a cool name.
All right.
Skinner. I think Skinner's a good name too.
Okay. All right.
So those are my two guys. This isn't the NBA though. I don't quite have a handle on horse racing like I do NBA playoffs.
Use the promo code WARCHANT. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere over at mybookie.ag. I lost the question here, but our guy Chris from Perry, our pitmaster, was asking, based on what we've seen this spring, do we think Byron Turner or Jaden Jones is more likely to be a breakout player?
Well,
since we didn't see one of the players, I think the other one kind of wins by default, no?
Yeah, I would say Byron Turner out of those two. And then, again, the grad transfer window will be open here soon enough, I guess. So maybe you get a defensive end going down that road. But yeah, Jaden Jones certainly looks the part. Like he is a big, tall, angular, athletic-looking guy that apparently can really move. But I don't know that we didn't see nearly enough to make a declaration on him. And Byron Turner had a nice end of the spring. It wasn't just the Garnet and Gold showcase. He had, I thought, a really solid final week and a half of spring too. So maybe he is coming on, which it's that time. If you're going to have a breakout year, now's the time.
Shout out to our guy Josiah back there finding that question in this huge pile of questions from all of our rabid fans here on YouTube. Daniel Cronin, are you guys convinced that Dennis Briggs is most likely going to bounce between end and tackle? It sounds like there are no defensive ends in the portal better than what we have on the roster.
Like if they asked him to go back to defensive end, he'd be like, no, I don't want to anymore. No, I want to go play running back. This is nuts. Like all they do is make this kid bounce around from one position to the other. I don't think he's special at defensive end in any way. And he's not supposed to be. I mean, I think he's Dennis Briggs. You hope he can be solid if he would stay at defensive end. I think the thought is with that body type, and he's got quickness for that position. He's not a quick defensive end, but a defensive tackle, if you put 25 more pounds on him, he might be an athlete for that position. So I think that's what their thinking was. And so I would hope that's not something they're even considering. I would hope they'd keep him a defensive tackle. Let that kid try to figure out a position and let him play it.
Man, he graded out at 70. I mean, he graded out 70 last year, 76 the year before his season got cut short, unfortunately, due to injury against Louisville.
Did it say he had 5 sacks last year? Is that right?
That's PFF. But I mean, dude, PFF had the wrong. It said that Jamie got drafted 149th overall. It said that Shaheem's not draft eligible to 2025. I'm not poo-pooing on Chris Collinsworth's operation over there, but some things kind of.
I'm glad that we keep using it so much then. 5 sacks. That's crazy if that's true. I'm looking it up, gang. That seems like a lot.
All right, I was about to look it up, but anyhow. I mean, 24. You mean 24?
Well, he had 3 sacks. He had 3 sacks. That's something. 3.5 tackles for loss.
All right. Let's see if I can pull up his game log, see which games they were. Moving along, Patrick Vickers. He's a new guy. He's making quite an impression.
Dollar
Patrick.
bills, y'all.
$20 in the jar. Solid headshot. Who's your photographer? I need a new headshot for my my Twitter, I think, man. The blue, the cobalt blue. Makes it pop, Patrick. He says he appreciates the show. Great work. Thank you, man. What are our thoughts about Keon Coleman, the receiver from MSU, hitting the portal? Is FSU interested?
Yes.
Yes.
They are interested.
We discussed at the top of the show, but Corey, you go ahead and summarize it since he dropped $20 for us. So we'll
yeah,
be on
Patrick, you're the man. He is visiting this weekend, so they are definitely interested. He's interested in Florida State, and he would be an enormous upgrade over what they lost, and he would be an upgrade, quite frankly, over many, if not all, except Johnny Wilson on the current roster. Like he had a really big year last year. I mean, I don't know if there's another player other than Johnny Wilson that would have gone for 5 for 155 against Michigan. They don't have a lot of those or 9 for 116 against Washington. So he had 3 100-yard games, another one over 90, 2 other ones in the 80 yards area. So that would be a big upgrade. He is clearly a very talented guy.
And he's 6'4", man. That's Kentron looks big, but Kentron's 6'2", I think. Maybe 6'3"?
He's not. Yeah, he's not that. I think that's more Malik McClain. I feel like is 6'4". That's kind of a Malik McClain frame. And he's also done it. Malik McClain hasn't produced like that. I mean, he was the number 1 receiver on a football team. That's a different mindset to have, and he proved he could do it even when defenses were trying to scheme against him. He proved he could do it. That would be he's got to be. I don't know, man. Was he one of the top 5 guys in the portal available? It's got to be close to that.
I'm going to head over there right now and see what we're looking for. Why do I have a guy from Australia number 1 on my board here? That's crazy.
Oh, man. What is that?
Are
these wide receivers?
Is this not considered the 23 cycle? This is the 23 cycle, right? It's got Malachi Weidman's on there. Mm-hmm. What is going on here?
You got to go to best available. I think that's just like guys that are in the system. You got to go to top.
Yeah, I got you. Wait.
No, go to top. Go to the left and go all the way to the top. Click on that.
All right.
Now go to best available over there on the status.
What would we do without Corey Clark, everybody?
I do things, guys. I do things.
Oh, number 3. Not bad. Number 3. And apparently the number 1 guy, Sakari Franklin, they've been talking to him too. So they apparently want a wide receiver then, I would assume, Corey. I mean, they're going after
right. And the guy from UTSA, look, I mean, at 6'1", 180, he seems like more of a natural slot than a 6'4", 215 guy. Like Keon Coleman would come in and play out wide. He'd play opposite Johnny. If you got the Franklin kid, obviously a huge if at this point, both of them, that looks to me like more of a slot guy, which is what you need. But you would take Keon Coleman.
Yeah. Shout out to Buddy Kennedy with his super sticker. We can't see it, but hopefully you all folks can that you're
Thanks,
on YouTube.
BK.
Yeah. Hit the thumbs up if it looks really cool, everybody. Let Buddy know that we appreciate the heck out of him. Chris, no last name. Ideal starting offensive line. I'm going to stick with my guy, Bobby Scott. I'm going Rob Scott, left tackle. Dimitri Emanuel, left guard. Maurice at center. Casey Roddick, right guard. Right tackle, Jeremiah Byers. Final answer.
Okay. I like it.
Unless I don't know, was Dylan Gibbons left guard? I mean, wherever Dimitri.
Yeah, Gibbons was left guard. Emmanuel's right guard. So you would keep Emmanuel right guard, make Roddick left guard. There is a chance that imagine if Casey Roddick was your center and could actually snap the ball, towards hips and chests and not the ankles. Because if he could get that position and be like a good center, think about the size on that line. If you were talking about going from left to right with those guys you just mentioned, but instead you have Roddick and Byers and Emmanuel all together, and then Bless Harris at one tackle and Rob Scott at the other. I mean, that is an enormous offensive line. That is a big offensive line with guys that have played a ton of football. But as Ira said yesterday, we got to stop even trying to bet against Maurice Smith. That guy, they love him. He wins jobs. He beats out other transfers, and I think he's just one of Atkins' guys. Now Atkins is going to play the best player, but I just think they love Maurice Smith and they love what he means for the offensive line. So he's going to be really hard to beat out.
I love Maurice, but did Maurice beat out Caden Lyles or did the scalpel?
I think Maurice Smith was going to beat out Caden Lyles.
Yeah.
I really do. Like I wasn't overly impressed with what we saw out of Caden. His size was great, but he didn't move like Maurice. But that's a good question. We don't know how that would have played out.
I think I had them once. I had Maurice one spot ahead of Caden on my preseason top 40 last year.
Yeah.
I thought Maurice was going to win it too, but
But I think what they respected so much is how he handled it when they brought in Caden Lyles. Like Caden Lyles was brought in as a center, not as a combo guy, a guy that could play swing and play different positions. He was brought in as a center, and Maurice Smith was like, all right, I completely understand. I'm good. And he stayed, and he ended up winning the job.
if you could pick a pass kicker, Roberto Aguyao, Sebastian Janikowski asks Mark Dorfman.
Man,
How about this? 10 years ago and today, who would you pick? If you need a 50-yard field goal made today versus 10 years ago, same answer, different answer?
No, I think Roberto Aguyao is the best college kicker that's ever lived. I think he was incredible. I think he was nails for 3 seasons. He missed one kick in the first 2 seasons of his career, and really important ones. I think his 2014 season was just because of how many close games they played and how much was on the line almost every time he kicked, was one of the most impressive seasons I've ever seen. Janikowski was like this complete comic book character that came out of nowhere, and was kicking the ball out of the stadium. But I still think Roberto Aguyao, college, clearly I'm talking about college, not pro. College, by the numbers, by every measure you would have, Roberto Aguyao was the better kicker. So I guess I would take him.
James B's got to vote for Sebastian.
Janikowski missed an extra point in the national championship game that they lost 23-16. Like, I just want to throw that out there. He was not infallible. He missed more kicks than Roberto Aguyao. He just did. They played on the same field. But his leg was incredible. His leg was nuts.
Was it like Roberto's kicks against Miami in 2014 were like on the same level as what Jano did in 99 against Florida? Like they're both on the road, but it's like Jano doing the whole getting penalized, doing the gator chop, going back 5 more yards and still booming it. Just gives that urban.
It was like he became like a folk hero. I mean, he really did. It was just nuts that they had this guy that could kick it to the moon. And he's seen through that prism. And I know Aguyao is seen through the prism of a failure in the NFL, but in college he was just incredible.
Corey Quantrell knows asks, do we agree that the Mets pitchers are dirty? That throw sure did look intentional.
Yeah, so they hit Acuna after he had a really good game 1 in a doubleheader. I don't think the guy's trying to hit him. I think he's trying to pitch inside because that's what you do to Acuna to try to get him out. What bothers me is the Braves never retaliate. And even if the intent wasn't there to hit your best player, at some point you've got to say enough is enough. And if you hit our guy, even by accident, we're hitting Alonso in the ribs. Because our guy, if you can't have a pitcher out there that can throw inside and handle it without hitting guys, then we got to retaliate. And the Braves don't really seem to ever do that when Acuna gets hit. I wish they would.
Yeah, people wondering about Bless Harris. Apparently another podcast, I guess, was really giving a lot of high praise to Bless, so that's been brought over into the Warchant ecosystem, and people have been asking about it. Man, I don't want to cop out on this, but like whoever Alex Atkins rolls out there against LSU will undoubtedly be the best 5 guys for this team. So we all are in an agreement on that.
I was a little surprised. We'll see what it looks like in August because I think there'll be more bodies, healthier bodies there. I was surprised that we talked about this, that Byers didn't get a lot of run at guard, because if it's him or Bless Harris at right tackle, which that seemed to be the battle that was going on. I don't know. I don't know who they pick. I mean, I just don't know. But what a great problem to have, Aslan.
It is.
It's not Abdul Bello battling whoever the other guy was. We don't have to say that. Sorry, Abdul. I always bring you up, and I don't mean to do that. It's not your fault. You're at Florida State trying to block people.
I need to see what his LinkedIn is. He's probably doing something really great out there in the world right now. So, Justin Osborne, playoffs or bust this year for Florida State. We have all these guys coming back. Anything less would feel like underachieving. You are speaking for 20% of the fan base, Justin, and I'm part of that 20%. I think Corey's going to represent the other. I don't know. What's the pie chart, Corey? I think there's us. I mean, my delegation that's like, yeah, man, your NIL operation is literally has a hashtag going for it all in 2023, which I don't think means going to Charlotte.
Right.
You did bring back all these guys. And listen, man, first thing on everybody's wish list should be Florida State's success, making it to a playoff, whatever success, the most they can maximize their success this season. Second thing on that list should be that Jared Verse stays healthy, man, because that NFL draft was terrible. He probably should have gone because he would have undoubtedly been a first-round pick. So I hope he stays healthy and can up his stock even more. But what do you think the percentage is in terms of people that are listening to this podcast, you think, Corey, that think that anything less than a playoff would feel like underachievement for this team?
I mean, I think it's probably higher than 20. I don't think fans are fans. They're not as pragmatic as my bald butt typically is. But I think that it's playoffs. What if they fit?
You wouldn't be mad at 10-3 though. That
I would. It depend. I mean, obviously, it depends on injuries and whatnot. But if this team stays relatively healthy and loses 3 times, I think that will be an underachievement because that's exactly what they just did. And this is a less schedule. It's tough in September, but that's it. It really eases up after that. But it's not as hard a schedule, and you're a better team. So you should be better than you were last year. So I would think 10-3 is underachieving. I don't know if you go. What if you go 12-0 and lose to Clemson in the championship game? So you don't get into the playoff because they're never going to take 2 ACC teams. Is that underachieving? I think it depends on how it plays out. I think if you're not in the, how about this to make it completely couch it and straddle the fence? If you're not in the conversation in November, it is underachieving. You have had an underachieving season. If you're not even in the conversation, if you guys aren't even paying attention to the dumb playoff reveal show they do on Tuesdays, it's been an underachieving season for this group. But it still could be a good one. If they go 11-2, that's a good season. Or 12-2, whatever it would be. That's a good season, even if they don't make the playoff.
Yeah, this whole thing of them being awesome is going to throw a wrench into our great life, Corey, about during the season to take you folks maybe too behind the curtain. Listen, they practice at 8 in the morning or whatever. Corey and I are knocking that show out at like 2 in the afternoon because Hayes in the barn, everybody. We don't need to be up until midnight. Right. But when they have that playoff release show, we're gonna have to wait a little bit.
That's right, man. That's right. Good call, Aslan. That's a good call. We could do it live. We could do a live show revealing as we watch the reveal.
We should do a live show every week during football season. That'll be our live show that we'll watch it together. Everybody will hold each other's hands. It'll be great.
Hopefully, Florida State will matter and be listed very high on those rankings. That like number 3 right now on the ESPN Power rankings.
I like how you said November too, because whenever we got that question from yesterday's show about like what historic season we see this team playing out to be, I hope that it doesn't work out in that exact arc, but like that 2003 team, they had a loss going into November. They were number 3 in the nation after they whooped Notre Dame and shut them out in South Bend. And then the next week they go into Death Valley and absolutely melt.
Lay an egg against not a good Clemson team.
Yeah. So, but like that was November. They were in the mix for the BCS. Hopefully this time they zig instead of zagging or whatever. So good. Yeah, November's a good barometer. I like that. All right. I like all of you folks for being here. Thank you so much again. Hit the thumbs up on the way out if you could. Subscribe to warchant.com. There's so much going on over there right now. Michael Langston dropped the video on YouTube. So as soon as we're done here, you can hop over to our YouTube channel and start watching that. I think it's on podcast version too. Just updating you on all the targets they're after right now when it comes to the transfer portal, because they certainly are heavy into that one. Thank all the folks for hitting the thumbs up. Thank you so much to Buddy Kennedy, Patrick Vickers, Derek Adams, Terry Carter, our guy Bakari, Z-Chan, James B, the pillar. Corey,
is Z-Chan a pillar? He needs to. I mean, he obviously is a pillar, but he hasn't signed the pillar, has he?
He's getting close.
I think he's there. I think he's made it.
Corey, do you want to answer Daniel's question about your favorite place you've ever traveled to? Country? Have you been outside?
Well, no, it's not even asking me that. It's asking me, other than Ireland, would I want to go to any other country?
Oh.
I mean, I want to go to a lot of them. Like, I'd love to be in Australia, to go to Australia, New Zealand, Europe. My
Europe's not
dad
a
did. My
country.
dad did a photo safari in Africa. Like he went to Africa for 2 weeks and did a safari, but not a hunting one. Had his camera, and he said that was the best trip he'd ever been on. I don't know if I'm that adventurous, but yeah, I want to go see the world. And my, you know, my anxiety won't let me. Apparently,
We'll see. I think maybe once you get married to Steph, it'll wash over you, man.
We're starting to. She's starting to design the save the date cards, Aslan.
All right.
And she
awesome,
said
man.
you're going to be the videographer, so she's already putting you on the clock.
Oh, really, man?
I know. I told her not to. I told her not to do that.
I want to be. They're expensive. That's why you're saving a bunch of money by having me do it. Because I won't charge you guys.
Well, we'd pay you anyway. We'd pay you with love.
Eric Angel asks, night games besides Miami. Oh yeah, we'll be in primetime all the time. Noles are back. Noles in control.
And LSU. LSU's a night game.
All right,
and the
everybody.
ACC championship game is a night game.
That's right. All right. Sorry for jumping over Corey. Thanks for watching. Again, if you get that thumbs up on the way out, we certainly would appreciate it. This is probably our last show of the week, but if something does happen enough, we'll be back for you folks on Friday. For Corey Maslow, thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, as well as our good friends over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, promo code Warchant, BOGO, BOGO. Shake it and take it. Check it out. Have a great one, everybody.